After studying this module, you shall be able to know about various types of unnatural sexual offences, examination findings in various types of unnatural sexual offences, various types of sexual perversions, and the medico-legal aspects of unnatural sexual offences and sexual perversions. I will begin with a quote from Malala Yousafzai from the Pakistan, as you know, who said, "We cannot all succeed when half of us are held back." Unnatural sexual offences are described under section 377 IPC, which states that whoever voluntarily has carnal intercourse against the order of nature with any man, woman or animal shall be punished with the imprisonment for life or with imprisonment of either description for a term which may extend to 10 years and shall also be liable to fine. Now, there can be unnatural sexual offences, several types, like sodomy, which is also called as buggery or Greek love. It is the anal intercourse between two men or between a man and a woman. This practice was prevalent in ancient Greek. It derives its name from the historical city of Sodom, where it was supposed to have been practiced. The main offender in sodomy is called the active agent and the opposite partner is termed as passive agent. If the passive agent is child, the practice is known as pederasty and the passive agent is called as catamite. If the passive agent is old person, then it is termed as gerontophilia. It is more frequent among the people living in the hostels, military barracks, prisoners and sailors who are isolated from women for long periods and also commonly seen among poor socio-economic status. So, how we do the medico-legal examination of an alleged victim of sodomy? The preliminaries, certain preliminaries have to be followed. They are same like the medico-legal examination as in the case of victim of rape. A written requisition from the magistrate or police is required for undertaking the examination. The informed consent duly filled up in front of the witnesses is a must. General information are registered, all the particular details, then the detailed history is taken. General physical examination is done, gait is looked for whether painful or normal, clothings are examined for any damage, stains, pubic hair, etc. The local examination is done in a knee-elbow position and the following points are to be specifically noted. Look for any pain or tenderness during the examination, presence of any smears of any lubricant or any loose foreign body, presence of any perianal abrasion. The severity of the abrasion is dependent on the relative portion between the size of the penis of the assailant and the anal sphincter of the victim, and these are most marked in children. The presence of perianal bruising, extension of the injuries into the anal canal. Anal lacerations are usually triangular and based at the external sphincters with the sides extending horizontally inwards, but rarely more than 2 to 3 centimeters, since usually the penile penetrations are limited by the strong contraction of the sphincter and eye muscles. These lacerations usually result in the bleeding into the thigh and clothings. In case of presence of fresh or dried semen in and around the anus, it should be swabbed, properly packed, sealed, labeled and sent through the accompanying police officer to the FSL for further serological and microscopic examination. In case of a victim not habituated to sodomy, a digital examination per annum is very painful. In case of a habitual victim, blood stains may not be visible. Loose foreign pubic hairs or smears of lubricant may not be visible. Usually the perianal hair is shaved off. During the examination, a habitual person does not feel any pain or tenderness during the examination and the external sphincters are relaxed when bimanual traction is applied to the buttocks. This is called as lateral traction test. In a habitual person, the following findings are seen. The funnel-shaped depression of the buttocks towards the anus. The perianal skin is thickened and keratinized from the constant friction. The anus is dilated and patulous with the loss of rugosities of the mucous membrane. There may be presence of a fresh or old fissures, that is called as tunneling. The rectum shows prolapsed mucosa which is thickened with disappearance of the radial folds. There may be evidence of sexually transmitted diseases and the digital examination is relatively very less painful. If we examine the assailant, The examination of the active agent, this follows the same protocol as examination of the rape accused, but in an alleged case of sodomy, the shaft of the penis may reveal traces of fecal matter or lubricant instead of vaginal epithelium. Then the second category is the lesbianism, also called as tribadism or sapphism. This is the physical expression of female homosexuality. It typically involves mutual masturbation and occasionally active-passive relationship by clitoral, digital or lingual vaginal stimulation or the use of artificial phalluses. The term lesbianism and sapphism are derived from the island of Lesbos, which is presently in Portugal, where the female population ruled by Queen Sopho indulged themselves in this act. The word tribadism is obscure now. An active lesbian, who is most often a transvestite or a transsexual, is also known as butch or dyke, and the passive agent is called as a femme. Lesbianism is extremely difficult to prove unless there are traces of fresh or dried saliva or buccal mucosal cells detected on or around the external genitalia, or injuries resulting from forcible introduction into the vagina by artificial phallus. Then third category of unnatural sexual offence is the buccal coitus or the oral sex. Buccal coitus is also called as sin of Gomorrah because as per the history there was alleged prevalence of practice in the Gomorrah, the biblical twin city of Sodom. The term indicates penile or vaginal buccal sexual gratification and can thus be performed both by male and female. The fellatio is the buccal penile intercourse. The partner who performs the act is known as the fellator and the one on whom it is performed is the fellatee. The cunnilingus is the buccal vaginal stimulation. The only material evidence of commission of offence would be the presence of spermatozoa in the buccal cavity or presence of fresh or dried saliva or buccal mucosal cells on the penis. Then the bestiality, that is the sexual intercourse with a lower animal. The animal usually selected are cows, mares, bitches, female sheep, donkey, goat and the large bird by the males, as well as bulls, horses, dogs, male sheep, donkey, goats by the females. It is characteristically the act of an isolated farm worker who are physiologically weak and is the object of ridicule by everyone or is timid enough to approach the opposite sex. He then overcomes the humiliation by having sexual intercourse with an available and usually compliant companion like a lower animal. Bestiality is also the product of superstition in many places in India, where the ignorant males firmly believes that having sexual intercourse with a female donkey cures gonorrhea. On examination, injuries inflicted by the animal will be seen over the offender. Very typically, hair, feather, blood stains of the animal will be present in and around the genitalia and also on the clothing of the person. The human or seminal stains may be present in and around the genitalia of the animal. Then coming on to the sexual perversions or deviations, are also called as paraphilias. Exhibitionism. Exhibitionism is a type of sexual perversion where sexual gratification is obtained by exposing genitals to an unsuspecting stranger or in a public place. The exhibitionism may or may not be associated with masturbatory acts. Males are the most common perpetrators and the victims are usually children or unsuspecting females or persons of opposite sex. Exhibitionism is punishable under section 268 IPC, 290 IPC, 294 as well as 509 IPC. Then second category of the sexual perversion is the fetishism. Fetishism is obtaining sexual gratification by using or thinking about an inanimate object or part of the body. The fetish or inanimate object is generally a piece of cloth, for example, underwear, suspender, petticoat, stocking or even shoe or even sandal of the opposite sex. Sometimes even silly things like garland or flower from the opposite sex or the picture of the female is also suffice. Usually the fetish is stolen and the genitals are rubbed with it till ejaculation occurs. Even looking at the fetish may produce the same effects. This is almost exclusively seen in males. The fetishist may commit theft or robbery or women may be attacked to get the fetish. Then the fraudurism. Fraudurism means to rub. This is obtaining sexual gratification by rubbing one's genitalia against others in crowd and public places. These are often seen with other paraphilias like voyeurism, exhibitionism. It is punishable under section 354 IPC, outraging the modesty of a woman, as well as all other IPCs described under the exhibitionism. The lust murder or erotophonophilia. It is a homicide in which the offender gets sexual gratification by killing the partner. This is considered as an extreme form of sadism. Most lust murders are males, but females are also known. It is manifested by murder during sexual intercourse, mutilation of the victim's sexual organs, cutting or stabbing of breast, lower abdomen, insertion of objects in the bodily orifices, masturbating over the dead body, and also may be associated with necrophilia and necrophagia. This is the most common among the serial killers who chose the victim with some specific trait. The offender may have periodic outbursts and his behavior may be normal in between the outburst. The sadism. Sadism is the type of sexual perversion where sexual gratification is achieved through inflicting pain on another person. The term sadism is derived from the French author Marcus de Sade, who wrote a book on these stories where the characters suffered the same fate. Sadism is also known as algolagnia, that the word is Greek, arose from algos, that is pain, and lagnia means lust. They are more commonly seen in males and are often associated with masochism, and such conditions are termed as sadomasochism. Usually the sadists are sociopaths or with personality disorders. There may be associated endocrine abnormalities or early experience of brutality and sexual exploitation. The methods employed are usually beating, biting, burning the skin with cigarette, bondage, producing cuts, whipping, etc. These are generally done with a consenting masochist. But if done forcefully, then the person may be charged with section 323 to 326 in addition to the other sections. The masochism. This is also known as passive algolagnia. This is sexual gratification through receiving pain upon self by another person, usually a partner of opposite sex. This disorder is named after an Austrian novelist, Leopold von Sacher-Masoch, who suffered from this perversion. The stimulant for his work was being whipped by his wife. These are mostly found in females in all age groups and among all socioeconomic strata. The masochist gets pleasure from being abused, beaten, tortured, dominated, and humiliated by their sexual partners. A painful stimulus replaces the ordinary sexual stimulus. Both sadism and masochism are seen in combination and rarely seen in pure state. When seen in combination, it is termed as sadomasochism. Both are included under the broad entity and is to referred as BDSM, a compound acronym derived from the term bondage and discipline, dominance and submission. Such activities are not a form of sexual abuse, though some activities may appear to be violent or coercive but are conducted with consent of the all partners involved. Then voyeurism. The voyeurism refers to receiving sexual gratification by observing nude individuals without their knowledge. It is almost exclusively seen in males who seek out repetitive situations to observe unsuspecting females grooming themselves or taking bath or undressing or copulating. A male voyeur is also referred as peeping Tom, named after the legend where Tom the tailor peeped and watched Lady Godiva during her naked ride on horseback and was struck blind. The voyeur may observe the subject from a distance or use objects like camera, mirror, videos, etc. This behavior is widely spread and research shows almost 65% of the women are engaged in peeping. They do not come in conflict with law unless caught in action. This is punishable offence under section 354 CIPC with imprisonment not less than 3 years but may extend up to 7 years with fine. Then necrophilia and necrophagia. Necrophilia arose from the word necros, that is the corpse, and the philia, that is the love, means intercourse with a dead body, and necrophagia means to eat, that means eating the flesh of the dead body after sexual gratification. The synonym of the latter is anthrophagy, that is necrophagia. Usually seen in persons suffering from temporal lobe anomalies, head trauma during infancy, drugs and alcoholism, genetic sexual abuse during childhood, suppressed hostility towards females. These people may have sadistic tendencies and may mutilate the corpse after intercourse. Foul smell of decomposition or the cold skin acts as stimulants. This is punishable offence under section 297 IPC for causing indignity to any human corpse and is punishable with 1 year imprisonment or fine or both. Then mesoxpia, that is the sexual gratification by observing sex performance of other couples. Pyromania, sexual stimulation by seeing flames or seeing destruction of a building. This is considered as a psychosexual disorder. Then the transvestism. This is the sexual gratification from dressing in the clothes of opposite sex. There is often a desire to be identified with the opposite sex, also known as cross-dressing or eonism. It develops mostly in late adolescence and in the males. These are generally associated with autoerotic asphyxia, bondage or sadomasochistic behavior. Trialism. This is the intercourse with more than one partner at the same time, either 2 female and 1 male or 2 male and 1 female. Another variation of it is when a person shares his wife or girlfriend with another and observe the act from a hidden place or from the front. The uranism is a type of sexual perversion where sexual gratification is achieved by fingering, fondling, licking the genitals of the partner, as well as urinating. Urolagnia is a type of sexual perversion where sexual gratification is achieved by sight of pupil urinating. Then the masturbation, also known as onanism or autoeroticism, where sexual gratification is achieved through deliberate self-stimulation. Mild masturbatory exercises are common to both men and women and they are of little importance. However, techniques are largely manual by moving penis against a bed or other object. Hollow articles like bottles, test tube may be used. In females, fingers are used gently or rhythmically to stimulate the clitoris or labia minora. The genitalia may be rubbed against a pillow or a bed. Females may use artificial penis-sized object to insert into the vagina. Masturbation is an offence only when practiced in public, for example, tennis booth or public lavatories. In the play piercing, it is a form of sex play often performed alone. Stimulation of the genitals is done by using disposable needles, pins or even nails, etc. This may cause localized swelling or trauma, and again this is a part of sadomasochistic exercise. Then scatologia. This is associated with obscene telephone calls. The telephone scatologia is the telephone calls made by heterosexual males who call unknown females to carry out sexually provocative conversation. Caprolalia is the sexual gratification by using obscene language. The caprolagnia is sexual gratification associated with sight or smell of feces or defecation. The narcissism or narcissism is the self-love which may or may not include genital excitement. The Pygmalionism is falling in love with a self-made object. The pedophilia or the child sexual abuse. This is a psychosocial disorder in which an adult experiences sexual gratification from prepubescent children. The pedophile is generally used to describe those accused or convicted of sexual abuse of a minor. Mostly this disorder is seen in men and the common victims are young adolescent boys, though some women may also have such tendencies. The aggression and sadism are important components of pedophilia, which may be subconscious or controlled or open. The pedophilia may take various ways for attaining sexual gratification, like direct sexual assault by touching the minor's genitalia, or rape, or the sexual penetration with an object. By sexual molestation, where an adult engages in non-penetrative activities like exposing the minor to pornography or showing sexual acts of others. The sexual exploitation by victimizing the minor for child prostitution or child trafficking. Sometimes the potential child sex offenders make their advances through online chat room to make more accepting offers. The effects of child sexual abuse are depression, post-traumatic stress disorder, anxiety, loss of confidence, and trust factor and transmission of venereal diseases. To summarize the topic, the sodomy is the anal intercourse between two men or between a man and a woman. Anal lacerations are usually triangular and based at the external sphincters with the sides extending horizontally inwards but rarely more than 2 to 3 centimeters. Lesbianism is sexual gratification by achieving mutual manipulation between two females. The buccal coitus or the oral sex is by applying mouth to the vagina or penis of the opposite sex. Both, coming on to the sexual perversions, there are 17 types of sexual perversions, out of which sadism, masochism, exhibitionism, the transvestism, the masturbation, all are common. The sadism and masochism are seen in combination. The extreme form of sexual gratification is algolagnia or the necrophilia, necrophagia, and trialism, where the person achieves gratification by seeing the persons engaging in sex, and the pedophilia, where the person achieves sexual gratification with the child.